happens when poetry becomes refuge, a place where silence speaks louder than words? You discover the quiet power of poetry that reaches across the borders straight into the heart. Now, I've got a translator I want you to meet who doesn't just translate poetry. She offers a sanctuary to the words that she finds. Her work invites you to pause, reflect, and maybe even find the words you didn't know you were searching for. Stick around, because you'll not only learn more about the book she translates, you'll learn about the journey this translator took to get here.
Welcome to A Book Finds You podcast. This week's guest is Mojdeh Bahar. Join us as she shares the inspiration behind translating books, along with her daily routine and challenges. And now, here's your host, best-selling author, Rob Jolles.
Today's guest, Mojdeh Bahar, is a patent attorney, mediator, and translator. Her translations include Milk, Vetch, and Violets, In the Mirror, Poems and Collages, Songs of the Ground Jay, Expanded Edition, and most recently, Silence and Lost Words. Happy to have you with us, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rob. It's wonderful to be here.
Good. And only the two of us know the struggles Rob just went through with his words today, but he's getting there. I'm ready to go for you. So let's dive right in. I want to start by hearing, normally I ask how a book finds you, but we're going to do it differently with you. We're going to ask how translating books found you.
So translating books in general found me as I've always been interested in languages and could not really decide between sciences and languages, and was a double major as an undergrad. And I think that struggle has continued. I have always wanted to work on languages and words, and lifelong language learner. So that's how translation in general has found me. And so delving into translating poetry, it's something that marries my two loves, that of languages and translating poetry.
Yeah. So let's talk about this recently, the Silence and Lost Words. Was there a particular scene or part of this translation that's challenging for you in terms of maybe it's emotional or it hits too close to home?
Yeah, so I think it's important for me to actually talk about the poet that I have translated in this conversation. So the poet I have translated is Ruhangiz Karachi. She's a Persian scholar, professor, writer, and poet. And most of her life has been dedicated to finding a place for Iranian women poets at the literary history of Persian literary history. And so I found her when I was translating the works of the poems of a selection of contemporary poets. And that's how I learned about her first. And then she and I have been communicating. She sent me some of her books, some of which are literary history books, and a lot of critical works that she has engaged in. And one of the books that she sent me was a selection of her poetry. She has 4 poetry collections. And then the 5th one was a selection of those 4 poetry collections that I chose to translate in Silence and Lost Words.
Yeah. So in a sense, an author found you.
Yes,
right?
That's a wonderful way of putting it. It's the author that found me.
Right.
And you asked if it was emotional. It is absolutely emotional, because her poetry is the internal landscape of women and talks about, everything that women all over the world talk about and are engaged in, how to balance all aspects of a woman's life and make sure that one doesn't drop the ball on any of them. So very much relatable for me and very emotional.
Right. And I did check out these books on Amazon. So I was looking at them, and that's how I begin to piece you together with these other authors. What would you say to a reader who's skimming the back cover and wondering, is this my next read? Is this my next book?
I would say if you're interested in poetry, it's definitely your next read. it opens a door that we don't usually maybe openly talk about, right? It talks about the struggles. Most of what Dr. Karachi's poetry is about, especially in her later works, is her relationship to writing. So not just her relationship to herself, not just about how to be a woman, but also how to be a writer, how to be a woman writer, one's relationship. And I think a lot of writing is about that. It's about how do you write yourself and how do you see yourself in that writing. So I think for all of those reasons, it definitely should be your next read, especially if you're interested in poetry.
There you go. Good, good. All right. Well, here's a question for you. As somebody who's looking over various books and poets, etc., how do you know when an idea is worth pursuing? How do you know when this is the author I want to connect with?
That's a great question. So, given that I put an anthology together and thought about, so how do I choose the poets? And then, secondly, how do I choose the poems, right? I think as a translator, you have a gift and a responsibility towards the people that you translate. And for me as a translator, unless I can relate to some aspect of the poem, unless I can feel it, I don't think I can do a good job of translating it. So for me, relatability is a huge part of translating the poem. So that's how I know. In case of Dr. Karachi, I knew that I wanted to translate her poems when she sent me the selection. And as I was reading the poems and leafing through the book, I found myself translating it. And with some of the poems I have translated and some of the poets I have translated, some of them just stay with you. Even after you translate them, even after you're done with them, you have this desire to go back to them. It feels like your job is never finished. And that's exactly how I felt about her poems.
And let me chase that with another question on that. How long, let's say I've got a poem that's 500 words, 200 words. How long does it take you to translate a poem like that?
So it depends how familiar I am with that person's work.
Okay.
Because words mean different things, not only in the different contexts, but when different people use them.
Right.
So if I'm familiar with them, probably not long, probably way under an hour to do the first pass. But it's not the first pass that's difficult. It's the second reading and the third reading and the fourth reading. And the concept that, in my opinion, a translator's job is never done. I look at things I've translated and I say, oh, I could have used a better word. Oh, I wish I could have done this over again. So I'm sure probably this is something that a lot of authors also experience, that only if I could have done one more pass on this, passage. But it's very much that. And I've come to learn, or I should say, I'm learning to live with that and see that as see beauty in the imperfections rather than blame.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm just speaking for every author has their own way. That's why I love this show, because you're hearing everybody's different approach. But I would actually think you spend longer on my words than I spend on my words, because not every author, and I'm happy to out myself and tell you, I am not a person that edits and re-edits and re-edits and re-edits and re-edits. Typically, I work with conventional publishers. They have their own editor. I want to put it in my voice and stay authentic. So now, not everybody is as quick as I am, but I would think that your job to translate and find my tone and find my meaning and find almost the beauty of what I'm trying to put together here is more challenging than it is for me. Am I wrong? And I could.
So I think it's different. I agree with you, because your authenticity just relates to what you have to do as an author. Whereas not only do I have to be true to my voice, but I need to make sure that my voice aligns with yours.
Right.
And that my voice doesn't change or negatively affect your authentic voice. And in that way, it's, as I mentioned, a gift and a huge responsibility that you just don't want to get wrong.
Yeah. Well, and even for a typical book editor, there's a rhythm that the author and the editor get into. And I've worked with editors that it just didn't really get me. I like grammar and syntax and things like that, but I want to say it that way.
Mhm.
And those that honor that, but find the moments where got it, you want to say it that way, but it's not clear. Okay,
Mhm.
that's what we need to hear. So there's that the editors, I guess, in a similar way for you, that are saying, I'm going to keep it in your voice, but I'm going to take it over. I'm going to make it clearer in this language. Uh, I just think that must be very challenging.
It's wonderful and rewarding,
Yeah,
right? And I try to stay true to even the word order, not just syntax and sensitivity to the words
right,
and the different meanings and the connotations and the cultural context and all of that. But also, I try to be very respectful of things like word order. Sometimes, there are inversions in poetry. Does this translate well to English? Does it create confusion? So I stay as close to the text as I can until it becomes confusing for the English reader,
right,
at which point I take some liberties.
right.
But
It,
making that,
I was going to ask you, if I'm writing, there are so many different versions of poetry, but if I've written a poem that rhymes, you when you translate it, are you translating it and trying to make it rhyme as well?
so the poems in this book are
Yeah.
free verse,
Uh-huh.
which
Okay.
I'm incredibly thankful for. So there is while there is internal music in some of the poetry,
Uh-huh.
rhyming has not been an issue here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Good. Would you turn down a project that where the words have to, you know, fit into a sequence and rhyme and then translate?
So I have translated what is called ghazal, which is very close to the English sonnet.
Okay.
And um, I think in order to make it rhyme, you have to be a poet as well as a translator.
Right.
And there are people that do this amazingly well. I have chosen to not stick with the form, but stay with the essence and the content.
Yeah.
Um, Partially because I don't think I could do a good job at it. Right? Maybe if I could rhyme beautifully the way it would appear in the original language, I would do it. But I think that my strength lies in communicating the essence more so than sticking to the rhyme. Maybe
I
one day.
Yeah, I think you're very smart. I think that would be a very tall challenge, particularly, you mentioned the word sonnet. Now we're in a very limited and particular rhythm and rhyme, etc. And to find other words that will. Ooh. Have you ever abandoned a project? Just looked at it and said, no, this one I
So
can't do.
So I have had the luxury of choosing these projects myself.
Oh, okay.
And because of that, I have always been very fortunate in finding people that wanted to be translated. And if they didn't, obviously, I would not embark on that project.
Got it. Do you ever get involved in the publishing or the marketing of these books?
So I've come to learn that everybody, I was listening to one of your podcasts, and one of the authors mentioned that pretty much everybody, whether you're self-published or whether you go through the traditional publishing, that you have to do the marketing.
Right.
So yes, I hope that I am doing an adequate job. I find myself wanting to do more, as this is not my full time profession. Unfortunately, I have very limited time I can dedicate to it, but I do understand that it's part of the process and that writing the book is just maybe half of the journey. And the other half is making sure that you can put it in the hands of people that might be your future readers. So would love to do more of it, but as of now, I think given my limitations, I'm doing as much as I can.
Right. Well, I happen to have shared an office for about 10 years with a patent attorney. So I kind of have an idea of what goes on in your world outside the world of translation. So yeah, that's just sort of a methodical kind of profession. And
Right.
for the lack of a better word, there's no highs or lows. It just seems very methodical about the way you do things. Maybe that helps you as a translator, actually, just the way kind of your tendencies are.
I think I've had the good fortune of working as a patent attorney, as a technology transfer professional, which basically means you are translating science into the law. And it's the intersection of, legal work, business work, and as well as science. So yes, that has helped me in that. I believe if anybody does their job well, if you are in a service type profession and offering your help to scientists, you need to be able to speak at different levels and with different languages and registers. So I think, yeah, it is very much like translation.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like you're like an athlete. You're sort of trained that way, in a sense. So it's interesting. All right, let me ask you this one. It's normally we've got people that are listening that are authors and trying to give them a push. But what would you tell an aspiring translator or somebody who's never thought about it but thought, maybe that would be an interesting thing to do? What advice would you give them?
I think everybody has a different impetus for translating, right? Some
Hmm.
people look at it as a puzzle. Some people look at it as solving a problem. For me, it started very emotionally. I wanted my daughter to have access to a poem that I loved. So that's how my journey started, right? So I would say that no matter what your reason is, make it a practice. Like if you're a runner, you're going to run every day, right?
Right.
So for translation, make sure you have something that you're translating every day. I actually, every day before, the day begins, I dedicate half an hour to translating a poem. And some days the poem is 4 lines long, and some days it's 25 lines long. Sometimes it's longer, but I only have that half hour. I work in that half hour. When the half hour is over, my work is done. But you see progress, and I think it's you can think of it as a training, and also at the end of it, you have something to show for, even if it's imperfect, even if it takes 3 or 4 days for you to perfect that work. But that repetition, that discipline is helpful.
Yeah. It almost sounds like translating is your wordle of the day. Have you ever done a wordle before?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. I do. I
Where you sort of stop and you say, I just need a little pause. I'm going to do something for my brain and I'm going to work with words. This is you for 30 minutes a day, kind of. We'll have to add that to the New York Times list of things to do, right?
yes, yes.
Now we could translate. Unbelievable. How have you evolved as a translator over the years? From when you first started to now, what's that evolution been like?
I think I've gotten more neurotic. I'm seriously. I think I just find more fault in some of the translations, and the good thing is I now know how to fix them. Right? I think before I would just be, this doesn't sound, what I would tell myself that this just doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
I know the words are there. I know it's the exact translation, or the best translation I could do at this time, but it just doesn't sound right. Right? Now I actually know some of the reasons, and I'm far from knowing, the majority of the reasons, but I know some of the reasons and I can fix them. So again, it's all about progress to me, rather than perfection.
Yeah. Again, I'm hearing the patent attorney in you just a little bit of,
Interesting.
just kind of, progress and moving methodically and not missing anything. And just, it's actually a perfect thing from what I'm listening and meeting you to do. It's really interesting. Okay. So, but let me ask you this question.
Sure.
You think a book is ever in your future or a book of poems? I mean, just a fiction, nonfiction, any type of book.
For sure. Yeah,
Good,
absolutely.
good. My eyebrow was about ready to go up to the top of my head, going, come on now, come on now. You can't be that close to authors and not say, maybe someday I'll run this race.
Yeah, for sure. But it's not going to be poetry. It will probably be, short essays or something of that sort.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, start outlining, author. You never
That's
know.
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
that be ironic if somebody translated your book into another language?
Yeah, it would be coming full circle, wouldn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, last question. I'll let you go. Any mentors or people that have sort of helped you along the way that maybe kind of got you involved, or did you just kind of find this all by yourself?
Oh, no, absolutely. So I come from a family where our leisure time or our
Mhm.
family time is spent um, in and around poetry.
Mm,
So I grew up with poets in our household, probably classical poems more so than free verse, but so definitely that had a huge impact, as did many amazing translators that I've had the occasion to meet, professors at in graduate school, and then later on, um, a lot of translators that I admired.
good. All right. How do people get a hold of you? Are you open for business if somebody says, "Wow, that sounds very interesting," and I'm looking for a translator, or maybe I'm just looking to talk to somebody about this particular occupation? How do they get a hold of you?
So my email is probably the best way. I'm also on Instagram. My email is my last name, first name, all in one. So Bahar Mojdeh at gmail.com. Or
You know I'm going
um,
to have you spell that out, don't you? It took
I
me 5 minutes to learn how to say.
I know, and I will. So it's BAHARMOJDEH at gmail.com.
There you go.
And I'm also on Instagram as Bahar Moj. So that's bahar.moj.
Good. And I just saw the future, and you have a website in about a year from now. I don't know if you know that, but I see that coming. I think
Sounds like
it's I think it's
sounds like
about time. Yeah. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure, really. And you're my first translator that I've ever spoken to, and I've been in the book industry for a while. So I've really found this fascinating, uh, particularly just sort of your day-to-day routine and the fact that you stay at it. There's so many things I loved about this conversation. I don't normally summarize, but one of the things I found, which probably is not important to you, is the fact that you do a little bit of it each day, just the way a writer works. And that basically, it almost sounds like you stay in shape, translating shape. It's like you're working out, but a translator workout. And I just find that interesting, and it says a lot about you. You're very committed to what you do. You must be very good at it. And again, see a bunch of books there on Amazon with your name as translator on them. So good for you. Pleasure talking to you, by the way.
Same here. It has been wonderful to talk to you, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Oh, you bet. Well, we'll do it again as well as we can next time, everybody. Until then, stay safe.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's guest author, we'd love you to rate, review, and share this episode with others. If you'd like more information on today's guest or the Maryland Writers Association, please visit our website at marylandwriters.org. You can also hear a brief history of the Maryland Writers Association by listening to episode 0.